Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here, and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, it's going to be a bit more of like a meta conversation. We're going to be going through my chip strategy for the upcoming period. We've just had it announced that we all have an extra free hit. There are also some blanks and doubles coming up very, very soon. So I thought I'd have a bit of a discussion. When do we use our free hit? When do we use our wild card, our bench boost, our triple captain? Are there different strategies we can do? And what is my advice for the current period until we find out exactly when those blanks and doubles are? If you are enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So as I said, let's start with the news that we do now have an extra free hit for everyone. This can be used from game week 20 onwards. So this does mean if you've already used your free hit, you now have an extra one. And if you haven't used your free hit, it means that you now have two. I'm not going to talk too long about how I feel about this. I know there's been quite a lot of negative feedback for this on Twitter. And to be honest, I am someone that I appreciate what FPL are trying to do here by giving us an extra free hit. It allows us to adapt to COVID. And if there is another week where we're completely demolished by COVID, we can use our free hit and it doesn't interfere with the other free hit we can use for planning. So I do appreciate that. I just wish that this was planned at the start of the season. They knew COVID wasn't going away. It would have been nice to know at the start of the season you've got 2 free hits. Or if this happens, then you have this. Because I think a lot of us would have used our free hit in game week 18. A lot of us were absolutely decimated. We were playing with 5 or 6 players. Then people like Foden and Gundogan went missing because they didn't play for City. So I think a lot of us would have used that free hit in game week 18 if we'd known. A lot of people used it anyway. And kudos to you if you used it and you got a big score. But it feels like the people that used it should therefore have no future free hit. They've decided to use it in that week, therefore they should have no free hit in the future. They've made that decision to cash in now, use that free hit there, and therefore they should have to deal with future using free transfers. Whereas those of us that held it because we knew the value of the free hit, it feels like we've almost been punished. And yes, I know we also get another one, so we now have 2. I just think they've gone about this probably slightly in the wrong way, but I'm really interested. Let me know down below. Are you just happy to get an extra free hit? Have you already used yours? I think for those of you that already used your free hit, whether it be last week or early on in the season, you're probably buzzing. You've already used your free hit. You probably got a good score from it, and now you've got an extra one as well. But for those of you that haven't, we now have 2 free hits, an extra one on top of our normal one. So that you could use this in various different ways. Number one, you could just keep it in your back pocket and you can say, I'm going to continue to plan with my normal free hit. I'm going to keep that other free hit until I need it. Because at some point in the season, whether it's COVID, whether it's injuries, whether it's postponements due to random things like snow, something will happen where you look at your team and you've got a few injuries. You might have like Liverpool playing against Man City and you might go, right, this is a week where my team does not look optimal. I can play my free hit. Alternatively, you can just go into extra planning mode. You've now got 2 free hits. Do you use one in a blank, one in a double? There are so many things you could do with 2 free hits. So you need to have a think about what sort of manager you are. Do you want to keep one in your back pocket as sort of like a get out of jail free card, or do you want to use it as part of your planning? I'm stuck between the two, to be honest. And at the moment, I'm going to continue to plan as though I've got 1 free hit. But in today's video, I'm going to show you what you can do if you plan with 2 free hits, because it could be absolutely massive for the season. It does mean that for those of us that have got a wild card, that have got wildcard 2, obviously all of us do. If you've got wildcard 1, you've got 2 free hits, bench boost, you could end up having like 6 chips still in play. So it is definitely worth having a think about, and that's going to be what we're going to be doing in today's video. The one thing that I just wanted to know, a lot of people just looked at the tweet and then started going crazy, which is fair enough. It was pretty big news. But if you click onto the link, do have a read through because there are some things about it. The most important thing is that you cannot use the free hits in consecutive game weeks. So we'll talk about game week 21 and game week 22 in a minute. There is potential that both are double game weeks. A lot of people are saying they play their free hit in both double game weeks 21 and 22. You can't do that. You can't play them in consecutive game weeks. So if you decide to play your free hit in 21, bear in mind you cannot play it in 22. So just be careful before activating that you don't think that the week after is going to be a more optimal week. So for me, as we'll discuss in a minute, I think free hit in 22 is better than free hit in 21, and therefore I definitely won't be activating it in 21. Let me know down below, though. I'm really interested. It's a really interesting debate. Do you think this adds to the skill level? Do you think it reduces the skill level? Do you think it's tailored to the more casual managers that just want to have a bit of fun and stay engaged with the game? Why do you think they've done it? I think it is to keep engagement levels higher. I assume when COVID struck and everyone had like 6 players, I reckon a lot of the more casual managers that just play it for a bit of fun, that might be you out there as well, probably didn't engage, probably logged off, didn't make transfers. So I think they want to keep people playing. Of course they do. And I do think this will help because people will be like, great, a free hit. I'm going to log back on and make a brilliant team. So I do appreciate that. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to complain too much. I've now got 2 free hits. I'm still at a slight advantage to those that only have 1 free hit. Of course I am. I just wish they'd told us at the start of the season. Would have been a little bit more helpful. So guys, before we jump into talking about chip strategies and when I think might be optimal to play all of your chips, I just wanted to inform you of a very big double game week coming up very soon in the next few weeks, and that is double game week 22. This has been confirmed by quite easily the best account to follow over on Twitter, Ben Krellin. So Ben for years has been helping the community plan for upcoming doubles and blanks. He highlights when there are gaps in the fixture schedule, and therefore when games are postponed, cancelled, or need to be rearranged, he knows exactly when they're going to go, and he can sort that out, and then he can predict what's going to happen. He has an incredibly good track record, almost always correct. However, of course he's wrong, because they can do whatever they want, the Premier League, and sometimes they can delay it or move fixtures around. So he just predicts based on his knowledge and his experience. But as part of the FPL community, we trust him massively. So I would say that if Ben tells us that something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And when he's not sure, he'll tell us he's not sure, which is really, really useful. So do go follow Ben Krellin over on Twitter. If you're interested in other people, Planet FPL, James from Planet FPL, he often has a podcast on it, although I don't know that it will have one over this busy period. And then Lego Mane over on Twitter as well is absolutely fantastic for this stuff. So if you're looking for other resources, they're the three guys to follow. Ben's probably the best, though. He's absolutely fantastic for this stuff. So do go give him a follow. He has confirmed for us double game week 22 will happen, and it will be a big one. Now, obviously, with the introduction of an extra free hit, you might just want a free hit in double game week 22, which, as we'll discuss in the next section, is a fantastic option. But whether you're using a free hit, a wild card, a bench boost, a triple captain, whether you're just using free transfers, it's good to know this is happening. Because even if you're using a free hit, for example, you can plan your transfers around game week 21 and game week 23. You can ignore these fixtures completely. So you might want to choose someone like Man City have got Chelsea in game week 22. If you're free hitting in 22, that means you don't need to stress about the fact that you've got Man City players playing against Chelsea, which is really useful. So no matter what your strategy is, you need to know that this is coming, and you need to plan around that as well. Before I recorded this, I also had a list of fixtures for double game week 21. It looks like double game week 21 might not go ahead, and even if it does, it's going to be incredibly small. The reason that double game week 21 was predicted to happen is because Ben and a lot of others thought that the EFL Cup semi-finals would become one-leg semi-finals, which would allow some fixtures going to 21 as well. However, at the time of recording, it looks like they're going to stay as two legs, which means that not some of those fixtures therefore can't go into game week 21, and therefore it won't be such a big double. It might not be a double at all. That might sound confusing. Essentially, what I'm saying is game week 22 is confirmed to be a double, and it looks like it's going to be a big one. Game week 21, we're not sure about. So in my opinion, therefore, I wouldn't be targeting game week 21 with my free transfers yet, until it's confirmed as a double, and I would be rather focusing my free transfers on 22, or be looking at using a chip in 22 as well. I just wanted to show you this. You can go over to Ben's Twitter, and it has some of his rationale behind it, but these are the fixtures that he currently thinks might occur in 22 as part of a double. So there are some teams in there that we've got players from that you probably wouldn't want in a double game week. For example, like I said, City against Chelsea. Most of us have probably got City and Chelsea players. That's not really a fixture that you want them for, especially when other teams are playing twice, and someone like Crystal Palace have got Brighton and Watford. I'd rather Gallagher over Foden, Gundogan, just for the fact that he's got two nice fixtures versus one difficult one. However, if you play your free hit in that week, obviously there's no issue. You keep your Chelsea players, you keep your City players, you play your free hit, and then come game week 23, you get your City and Chelsea players back, and you just have that really nice double game week to attack. So that's the value of having that extra free hit. That's why it's so useful. Even if you've only got one left, it might still be a good idea to play it in this week. We're going to discuss all of that. I just wanted to let you know that game week 22, double game week 22 is going to happen. These are not the confirmed fixtures. This is predicted by Ben in partnership with Fantasy Football Hub. Go follow him over on Twitter. He will update us constantly. Keep those notifications on for him. He'll be incredibly useful. Let's take a look at what I think is the optimal chip strategy over the upcoming game weeks based on what we know already. So, before we actually go on to looking at chip strategies, I thought it'd actually just be useful to just list out the blanks and doubles that we know about, and the blanks and doubles that are likely to happen over the rest of the season. Again, this is all coming from Ben, so massive shout out to Ben for doing this for us. What I've got is I've got the blank game weeks listed in the green colour. I've got double game weeks listed in the orange colour. Of course, BGW is blank game week, DGW is double game week, and I've got a blue asterisk next to the ones that are possible but not confirmed. I think Ben's called them likely, but I'll just say possible for now because I know things can change a lot. Ben has also said that we're likely to have 3 or 4 further blanks and doubles across the season, but that they're likely to be incredibly small. So I've not put them on here at the moment, but we could have something like, I think he said double game week 26 could be something that happens, but these are likely to be literally like 1 or 2 fixtures, and therefore I don't think they're worth targeting with chips and worrying about too much. So the 3 that we have confirmed and the 3 that Ben has said are going to be big blanks and doubles is double game week 22, as we've just spoken about, is likely to be probably the biggest double of the season. Then we've got Blank game week 20. Oh, sorry. We've got blank game week 30 is likely to be the biggest blank of the season. So blank game week 30. And then we've got double game week 36 is likely to be another huge double game week at the end of the season. So those are the three that Ben has confirmed as being the big blanks and doubles across the season. In and around that, there are some smaller ones that are possible but not confirmed. Double game week 21 could potentially be a small double, but like I said, that is now... we're not sure if that's definitely going to happen, so I would definitely hold off on making free transfers based on that. We're not sure at the moment, so just keep your eyes peeled. Double game week 21 could be a small double. Blank game week 27 could go ahead. At the moment, that looks like that might literally just be the Arsenal-Liverpool fixture, so it looks like Arsenal and Liverpool might both blank in 27. Therefore, I've put it on here. Despite it being a very small blank, that's a huge one because a lot of us have like Ramsdale, Smith Rowe, and then 3 Liverpool. Therefore, you've got 5 players missing there, so that might be something to look at, maybe offloading your Arsenal players before that, or if you want to, I suppose you could free hit in a week like that as well. You could target like Man City players or whatever it is with a nice fixture. And then double game week 33 potentially could be a fairly big double. Ben doesn't know the size of this at this stage. It doesn't know it's definitely going to go ahead, but it looks like that could be. So what I guess this shows is that from game week 30 onwards, we've got a huge blank and then potentially 2 big doubles as well. So it might be worth holding some chips for later in the season because that final run-in of 8-9 games could be absolutely massive. And despite your rank, you could go from like 1 million to top 100k. In those back 9 game weeks, if you've got like 2 free hits and a wild card left, you could do absolute damage there. So keep an eye on Ben's Twitter. Keep an eye on my YouTube channel. I'll feed back any information that I see. I'll obviously give my opinion, which I'm going to do in the next section. So I'm not just regurgitating Ben's stuff, but Ben will help with the planning, and then I'll give you my opinion on the optimal chip strategy. But at the moment, 3 confirmed by Ben, not confirmed by the Premier League, is double game week 22, blank game week 30, double game week 36, and then there are 3 smaller ones in and around that. And like Ben said, there might be 3 or 4 further ones, but they're likely to only be like 1 or 2 game missing or 1 or 2 games added to that game week. Let me know down below, do you have a chip strategy for any of this now? We're going to look at what I think are the optimal 2 strategies. Right, so this is where we now get to my opinion, and this is where it becomes, this is not factual, this is not fed to us by Ben Crellin and his wonderful planning. This is my opinion on what I think are potentially 2 really good strategies for attacking all of the doubles, all of the blanks, and making sure that you're using the chips to the best of your ability. This is assuming that you've only played your first wildcard. So, of course, if you've already played a free hit, if you've already played a bench boost, you've already played a triple captain, you might need to adapt this strategy. I was going to try and do it based on what chips you've got left, but there are so many chips, and therefore I'd have to do one if you don't have bench boost, one if you don't have triple captain, one if you used a wildcard, one if you haven't. So there are so many different permutations that I don't think it would be possible to cover in one video. So what I've done is I've just assumed you've got all of your chips. If you don't have your triple captaincy, just miss that off. Or if you don't have your bench boost, then maybe you don't play the wildcard early. So you can think about that based on your personal situation. But I'm assuming, like myself, you've just played your first wild card and you've got the rest of your chips available to you. The difficult decision for you guys will be if you've already played your free hit. That might be a little bit trickier because then you can't use your free hit in a blank and a double, or you can't use it in potentially 2 doubles. You've got to just choose one. So that might be a little bit tricky. If you've got a specific chip situation, you can let me know down below and I'll give you an opinion on it if I can get round to it. But for the time being, just sit back, have a little bit of a think. You don't need to do anything right this week, but I would definitely start thinking about it because you don't want it to catch up to you where you've got nothing planned and you're just using them in random game weeks. So I think for me, there are multiple strategies. I could probably list like 5 or 6 different strategies. But just for this early video, when we don't know exactly what's going to happen, I've separated them into an early wildcard strategy and a late wildcard strategy. There are differences in and around that, but generally speaking, the huge difference between the 2 is that one's got the wildcard played in game week 21 and one's got the wildcard played in game week 31. Straight off the bat, if you've still got your wildcard, then you definitely go for the late wildcard strategy. You play your first wildcard soon. Obviously, you have to by game week 20. And then you play your second wildcard in game week 31. And therefore, if you've still got your first wildcard, you definitely go for strategy 2. If you've already played your first wildcard, it probably does really depend on your team. And it depends on how you want to use the chips for further weeks as well. What I would say is if you're completely unhappy with your team, you're looking at your team now, there's injuries, you've got a really weak bench, you've got a triple up on like Chelsea and they've gone up to the Club World Cup soon and they don't have many doubles, you might want to just play the early wildcard, sort your team out and go for that strategy. Equally, if you're really happy with your team, you like the balance, you like the players you've got, you think you can get to game week 21 fairly well, you think you're going to happy to be free hit in 22 and you're happy with your team, you might want to go for the late wildcard. Let me just go through each strategy then. So strategy 1, early wildcard, is what it says in the tin. You play your wildcard in game week 21. You could potentially play it in 22 if you don't want a bench boost, but for the sake of it, we'll say play it in 21. That would allow you, if there is a double in game week 21, then you can attack that. Otherwise, you just set your team up perfectly for a double game week 22 bench boost. So the whole point of get a wildcard in 21 rather than 22 is you can't wildcard in 22 and bench boost in 22. You can only play one chip. So you would need to wildcard the week before, and that would be to target double game week 22. So you would make sure you've got a fairly strong bench, not too much money, but you've got a fairly strong bench. You would make sure you've got 2 playing keepers, which is probably a good idea with COVID at the moment anyway. And so you would set that up in 21, and then you would bench boost in 22. That would mean that you don't need to use your free hit in 22 to get out a full team of doublers, because you would wildcard into that. The only thing that I would say about this strategy is you need to wildcard with more than just 22 in mind. You don't want to wildcard a free hit team for 22 and then after 22 go, crap, I've got no players in my team. The issue that I might find with this strategy is that teams like Liverpool, Chelsea, City, they don't double in game week 22. But you're going to want them long term. Maybe not Chelsea because of the Club World Cup, but definitely City, Liverpool. These are teams that you're going to want long term, but they're not perfect for a bench boost. So I find that tricky in that, do you include them and have a slightly weaker bench boost and a slightly weaker team for the doubles, or do you not include them and then say, well, I'm going to get them back on free transfers? It becomes really tricky. And things like Salah, if he's away at AFCON, do you have Salah in your wild card? Do you take him out? Do you then bring him back in? You lose team value on him. You lose value on him, sorry, if you do take him out. So it's a really tricky one. And I just find it very tricky to know how to attack that double game week with respect to the wild card. But it's still a good strategy. So wild card in 21, attack 22 then with the bench boost. And then you can play the free hit in blank game week 30, because that's likely to be the biggest blank. So you're likely to only have a few players. So you attack blank game week 30 with your free hit. You can then triple captain it in double game week 33, which we've said isn't going to be a big double game week, but it is going to be a double game week. The reason I like that is if it's going to be a humongous double game week, I'd much rather play my bench boost because you've got more players to choose from. When it's a small double game week, as long as there's a player like Salah or someone that you're happy, even if it's someone like Antonio, like you're happy triple captaining, you can play the chip then, and I think you don't have to worry too much about it. The other thing about triple captain is you can just play it whenever you want. It might be like this week, you just want to play it Salah against Leeds. You don't have to play it in a double game week, but I do prefer to do so. But I prefer to play it in a small double game week, if that makes sense. And then the final double game week of the season, you can free hit that. And I do really, really like that. I like that a lot. Final double game week, it's game week 36. It's just for the end of the season. And you can free hit based on your rank, based on where you are. If you're top of your mini league and second place has a certain few players and they're the only ones that can hurt you, you can just free hit into their team. You can just completely nullify any attempt that they've got to do well. Or if you're like third in your mini league, you can just go for a team full of differentials. And I really like the idea that you've got that free hit ready for the final game week of the season, the final double game week of the season. It could be absolutely massive. Ben did say that there could be a double game week 37 as well, but that's likely to be much smaller. So that's the first strategy. It all relies on that early wildcard to set your team up. You wildcard into a bench boost, but then you keep those 2 free hits for the final big blank game week of the season and the final big double game week of the season, and you play your triple captaincy in and around that. Like I said, my main issue with that is I don't know how to use the bench boost very successfully when I'm going to want some players that have single game weeks. Therefore, I'm going to be bench boosting with a team with fixtures that aren't optimal, or I'm going to have to take them out and then bring them back in. And I just think it gets a little bit messy. The second reason I'm not really that keen on this at the moment is I just think game week 21 is far too early to wildcard for me. That's like 17, 18 game weeks away from the end of the season. I don't know what team I'm going to want to set up for these future weeks. I don't know how strong I want to go on the bench. I just find it a little bit tricky at the moment. I wouldn't know what wildcard team I want. And I know you might say there's a couple more weeks to go, but that will come around very quickly, game week 21, when you want a wild card. And I find that tricky then to know what team I want to set up and what to do with this double game week. It could be that you wild card into 22 and you don't bench boost and you save the bench boost for the end of the season. You don't have to wild card into a bench boost. I just think that if you wild card before a bench boost, you confirm that your bench is probably fit and ready to play. If you wild card and then bench boost 14 game weeks later, anything can happen. You could be decimated with injuries. A lot of the cheap players could become completely irrelevant. And then you're really scrambling to try and get a bench out that actually works. So as you can probably tell, this is not the strategy that I think I'll be deploying. I don't like going early wildcard in the first or second half of the season. I like being patient and using info and going a little bit later. And I also would rather, I think, free hit double game week 22. Personally, at the moment anyway. So the second strategy, therefore, is the opposite. It's a late wildcard. And like I said, that will be starting with a double game week 22 free hit. The reason I like this is it's likely to be the biggest double game week of the season, and you just don't have to plan for it. You can plan it in and around that. Make sure that you've got a decent team over the next week, couple of weeks, and then you just make sure that from game week 23 onwards, you've got the players that you want to. Double game week 22, you just attack it you can have 11 doublers. You can even have a few cheaper doublers on the bench just in case anything happens with COVID and postponements. You don't have to triple up on teams just because of COVID as well. You can really plan in and around that. You don't have to don't have to utilize your wild card earlier on in the second half of the season. You don't have to worry about getting your bench boost done when COVID's absolutely rife at the moment. You can play it later on in the season when hopefully COVID's died down a little bit, and it just makes it a little bit easier to plan. Or I should say, you don't really need to plan necessarily for Game Week 22. So I really like the idea of using my free hit in double Game Week 22. Then you would use the free hit in Game Week 30, blank Game Week 30, which is the same as the early wildcard strategy. What this means then is that you've just banged out both your free hits and you've not used your wildcard, triple captaincy, or bench boost. You've just attacked the first big double, the first big blank with both your free hits. And in that back end of the season, you wildcard into the final 2 blanks and doubles. Sorry, to the 2 final doubles. So you would wildcard in Game Week 31 or 32. You could wildcard earlier than that. You could wildcard in Game Week 29 into the blank if you wanted to. But I think targeting the blank game week with a free hit would be good. You then wildcard straight after the blank game week, and then you wildcard into your double Game Week 33 triple captaincy and double Game Week 36 bench boost. You could flip those. You could wildcard into a double Game Week 33 bench boost, and you could triple captain in 36. But like I said, because 36 is likely to be a bigger double game week, I would rather bench boost in 36 than 33. I'm really sorry if that was confusing for those of you that are new to the game and you've not used all these chips before. I'm just trying to go through all the different permutations and things that I think you can do. I think I prefer this because I think I can maneuver and navigate my team up to Game Week 30 absolutely fine. I'm looking at the structure. I like the structure. I'm happy with the players that I've got. I've not got that many Chelsea with the Club World Cup coming up. I don't think I need to change my team around too. I'm a few transfers away from what I think would be the perfect team on wildcard anyway. So I think I can navigate well enough. I've got a strong bench. So I think I'd rather free hit in 22, navigate 23 to 29 absolutely fine, then free hit in 30 to do all that big blank. And then after that, I can really attack the back end of the season with a wild card. It'd be 31 or 32 wild card, really attack those final 7-8 game weeks. And I would do so based on my rank. If I've got a really poor rank, then I might just go ultra aggressive. If I'm really happy with my rank, I might just go a little bit safer. The players that I know will perform well. Continue to captain Salah, the likes of that stuff. And then you can use those final 2 aggressive chips, triple captaincy and bench boost later in the season. Like I said, hopefully the bench boost when COVID's died down a little bit and there's not as many postponements and people falling victim to COVID. So that's my current strategy, is the late wildcard, but it largely depends on your team. Like I said, if your team is an absolute mess, you might want to go for the early wildcard strategy because you can, number one, be really aggressive now, attack Game Week 22, and then you'll still be fine because you'll have 2 free hits for the back end of the season. And you can sort your team, or you can just delay it like I am. I think my team's fine. I'm going to delay it. I'm going to attack the back end of the season and deal with double Game Week 22 and blank Game Week 30 with my free hits. This is obviously all assuming that these doubles and blanks go ahead and that there are no other big announcements, other big blanks. If there's a pause in the season, this video becomes completely irrelevant because we'll probably get unlimited transfers. There'll be more blanks and doubles and it'll be all over the place. But assuming that we go along with this schedule, this is currently what I'm planning. I prefer strategy 2. Let me know down below. Do you prefer strategy 1, the early wildcard? Do you prefer strategy 2, the late wildcard? Or have you got a strategy 3? If you've got your own strategy, I'd be really, really interested to hear it down below. Hopefully you're still with me. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. Hopefully this has started to help you plan your chip strategy as well if you haven't already. I just thought I would come with some final advice just for those of you that are a little bit confused. And what do I do now, Ross? That's all well and good planning for Game Week 31. We don't know what's going to happen. What do I do this week? What do I do now? So here are some things that I would advise either this week or in the future weeks just to think about. This is my general advice for dealing with all of the blanks and doubles. The first is, if you can roll a transfer this week, please do so. You'll see in my team selection video later, I'm almost definitely going to be rolling a transfer unless something crazy happens. The reason for that is we still don't know exactly what's happening with Game Week 21. So it might be a double, it might not be. It might be a small double, it might be a slightly bigger one. It doesn't look like it's going to be a big double as per Ben, but it might be a few doubles in there. And therefore, you might want to target your free transfers with bringing in double Game Week players. If it is a slightly bigger double Game Week than we're expecting, if they change the schedule slightly, it might be that you say, actually, I don't want a free hit in 22. I'll free hit in 21 and I'll use my free transfers to bring in players for 22. It might be that you completely change your strategy. I think if you can wait a few more days, or for next week, if you can end up rolling a transfer and you can attack from Game Week 20 with 2 free transfers, hopefully by then we'll know the state of play with Game Week 21 and Game Week 22, and then you can use your free transfers based on that. If there isn't a Game Week 21 double and therefore you're going to free hit in 22, great. Then you can use your free transfers to target players from Game Week 23 onwards because you're going to free hit in 22. So what I'm saying is, I would avoid, if possible, moving this week unless you can't field 11 players, or unless part of those 11 players are like Brownhill and Gilmore and you really don't want to play those players. I would try your very, very best to go into Game Week 20 with 2 free transfers. The other reason is just because of COVID as well and postponements. It might be that we have a pause. It might be that there's not a pause, but there's further issues and rescheduling. So wherever possible, this week and in future weeks, try to roll a transfer because that will allow you to target the doubles. Even past 22, as Ben was saying, there could be like a 25, 26 double. There could be doubles randomly dotted in. If you try to go into each week with 2 free transfers, that is absolutely fantastic. And it means that you can respond to any last minute rescheduling, which there could be. So that's my personal opinion on it. Just the final thing I should say with respect to the rescheduling is because of the UK government's potential impending announcement from the 28th that we might be going into like a circuit breaker, lockdown-ish thing. I think at the very least, I do expect some of the games to be played behind closed doors in the early new year in the Premier League. As a result, the Premier League can rearrange games at very, very short notice because they don't have fans to worry about. So it might be that we literally get a day or two before the deadline an announcement that there's an upcoming double or there's an upcoming blank. Therefore, those free transfers can be really useful. I'll stop rambling on. You know I missed a free transfer. If you've watched my channel across the first, 16 at 19 game weeks, God, I don't even know what game week we are, you'll see that I'm always rolling free transfers. The reason for that is it just allows you to respond to different things. So if you can, roll a free transfer. Sorry about the sniffling, by the way, I got really bad cold. Tip 2, if you can attack a game week without a chip, don't feel like you need to use it. I should say don't feel like you need to use it, not don't use it. But for example, if you've got 9 double game week players for double game week 22, you probably don't need to free hit. You can probably use 2 free transfers or take a -4 to get to 11, or you can just be happy with 9. Just because you see people in and around you building the perfect game week 22 squad doesn't mean you necessarily need to copy that or you necessarily need to do the same thing. Because if you can field 9 double game week players with 3 transfers and 1 hit, and then you've still got that free hit for the second half of the season, you could essentially have a pretty close to a free hit team in 22, then free hit in 30, then free hit in 36. You could be at a massive advantage. So it comes back to that idea of immediate gratification that I've spoken about in my book and I've spoken about on the channel as well. Don't feel like you've got to constantly reap the rewards of that upcoming game week. If you want to save a chip, do so. It could be massive. In the back end of the season, everyone else has wasted their free hit and maybe COVID goes absolutely insane. Everyone's wasted their free hit. You've got 2 free hits. You dealt pretty well with that double game week anyway. Don't feel like you have to use a chip just because everyone else is using one. So do consider if there is a way that you can deal with blanks and doubles without using the chip. And if you can, I'd probably do that. Tip 3 is a bit of a psychology tip here. Don't get too attached to a plan. I am definitely subject to this cognitive bias, or the cognitive biases. There are about 6 or 7 here. The main 2 are plan continuation bias and Semmelweis reflex. Plan continuation bias is the idea that we create a plan and we continue with that course of action despite logical alternatives arising because that was our plan. You know when people say, oh, that was my plan, I'll just stick to it. Or, oh, I think it's my gut feeling. Sometimes people misattribute gut feeling to plan continuation bias. So it might be that you plan, I'm going to plan a late wildcard. I'm going to wildcard in 31. I'm going to bench boost in 36. If something happens, I'm happy to change that plan. If something suggests that, you know what, game week 27 is the week to wildcard, then I'll wildcard in 27. Don't feel like you've got to stick to a plan just because that's the one you created at the start. And Semmelweis reflex links in with that. This is the idea that we reject new information because it doesn't fit with our already established beliefs. Our already established beliefs is our plan. So this is the idea that as human beings, if we create a plan, we'll reject new information. We'll just say, no, don't care. My plan was 31. I'm going to stick with 31. We are very stubborn. Not only as humans, but as FPL managers, we're very, very stubborn. So try your best to create a plan. Try and stick to it if possible. But if new information arises that suggests that that's not the best plan anymore, change your plan, readapt. Being adaptive is so important as being a good FPL manager. So get a plan, sort your plan, be as structured as possible, but don't be afraid to change it if new information arises. And then tip 4 is probably to decide on your game week 21, 22 plan as soon as possible. Not this week. I would try and roll a free transfer this week, but for next week, for game week 20, I would try and decide and use your free transfers accordingly. Are you going to free hit in 22? If so, use your free transfers for 23 onwards. If you're not going to free it in 22, start bringing in players that are likely to play for teams that are doubling in 22 based on what Ben is predicting. So that is what I would do personally. Outside of game week 22, I think you can be a little bit more casual with your plan. If you don't want to wildcard now, don't wildcard, sort it later. But for game week 22, I would sort out as soon as possible. You've wildcarding, you free hitting, bench boosting, triple captain, using free transfers. What are you doing? And then start using your free transfers based on that. So those are my 4 tips. Other than that, just be a sponge. Take in all the information, listen to this video, listen to what Ben Crellin's saying, listen to what other YouTubers are saying. Do your bit. Don't just use one source. Don't just use me. I might have a terrible opinion on this. It might be a much better strategy created by someone else. But just try and enjoy the game. enjoy the fact that you got the extra free hit. Enjoy the fact that this is crazy and that there's lots of extra planning required. This is what makes the game fun, this sort of idea of planning. It gets a little bit stale in the first half of the season, but attacking the back end, there's blanks, there's doubles, there's loads of different ways that you can rise up the ranks, and it's very, very exciting. So yeah, those are my 4 tips. Let me know down below if you've got any extra tips that you have for navigating this crazy, crazy period. So just to finish up today, I just want to give a massive shout out to the members of this channel, the Raptor Hall of Fame. These guys help support the channel massively on a monthly basis using the Raptor membership feature. If you're on your laptop or your desktop, if you look next to the subscribe button, which you should be clicking by the way, there is a join button that will allow you to become a member. Or if you're on your mobile, there's a link in the description which says if you want to become a member, click this link here, and it will don't worry, if you click that, you won't have to pay for anything. It will just bring up the box which tells you the 2 different types of memberships you can have. Rap Tier 2 supporters is like 99p a month. That allows you to have a custom badge next to your name, and it also allows you to get some custom emojis and also priority reply to comments. So if I don't have time to reply to all comments, I'll reply to the members first. And it's a badge depending on how long you've been a member of the channel. So it's a normal Raptor logo for less than a month, green for 1 month or more, blue for 2 months or more, and then you've got 6 months bronze, 12 months silver, and 24 months gold. So you get that next to your name. That obviously lets others know that you are supporting the channel. Rap Tier 1 members, as well as all of that stuff that the Rap Tier 2 supporters get, you also get put into our group chat over on Twitter, which is absolutely brilliant. We talk about all FPL stuff, football stuff as well. It's always very, very active because there are so many of us in it now. You also get to privately message me on Twitter if you ever want to bounce any ideas off me. Again, I don't ever claim to be an elite manager or anything like that, but I tend to sort of discuss stuff quite logically, and it's good to bounce ideas off of someone, I think, often. And you also get entered into our Rap Tier 1 mini league, which I'm going to get Nana Raptor into as well. But all of us are in that mini league. I think I'm like 9th in that mini league now, which basically means that there are a lot of better managers that are members of the channel than me now. But they're doing very, very well this season. And I'm very, very impressed with some of the decisions that are being made by the Raptor members as well. So if you would like to become a Rap Tier member, do click the join button or click the link in the description. There's no obligations to do so. As always, the content will continue to be free. But I do appreciate the support from you guys. And in return, I like the fact that I can give you some perks as well. Massive shout out to the Raptor Hall of Fame. Merry Christmas, guys. I appreciate you so, so much. So guys, there you have it. Hopefully not too confusing, but just a detailed breakdown of what we already know and what my current opinion on it is and what I'm currently planning to do. This will change day by day, week by week. I'm sure I'll adapt and bring up new strategies. But for the time being, I'm currently planning a late wildcard strategy, which means I don't think I'm going to target Game Week 22 with free transfers. I think I'll deal with 23 to 29 using free transfers, and I'll just free hit in double Game Week 22. That means I don't have to stress about bringing in doublers. I don't have to stress about having a really strong bench for a bench boost. I can just focus on my team, and then I can deal with the back end of the season using a wildcard and bench boost then. But do let me know down below. I'm very interested to hear your strategy. If you are enjoying the content here on this channel and you find these sort of videos useful, please do support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. All 3 of those things are absolutely free, but they all help support the channel so very much. And if you want to go on above and beyond, you can become a member of the channel. Like I said, click the join button next to the subscribe button or click the link in the description. And outside of that, it's a bit late for Christmas now, but if you do want to purchase a copy of my book, the links are in the description as well. I massively appreciate it. And also you're getting, hopefully, a very good FPL book in return as well. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.